document. In the document tab, today we will be covering the source document part basically, which is divided into two parts. Source document is enabled only in the case which you have when we have a publisher in place. Okay, so if you don't have publisher, then source document will not be enabled for the user. All right. So now in the source document, we can locate what all are the applications are hosted in the source document folder of your QlikView. So I'll show you one approach for a single layer, which is extract, and the same approach will be followed for all other layer like transform and application. So with little more changes.
Yes.
So already one task has been configured here. So which this is the first, this is the main QEW, right?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, from the first sequentially, we have to schedule a refresh of the extractor. Okay, the data extractor, which is the first sequence. Then this extractor will be running based on a time schedule. As we were asking yesterday, that in Windows job scheduler, we were running all three extract files based on one by one. Uh, I mean, one by one from the in a sequence.
Yeah, yeah,
Here we
sequence.
can create a dependency like first layer would be running at say at 8 9 51 here, say at 10 o'clock. Okay. Now it may take any time like 10 minute, 15 minute, or 30 minute, even 1 hour. After the completion of this task only, the second layer, which is data model, will be running, and thereafter we will configure in the third layer. After the completion of the data model task only, this application layer will be running. So just click on this and you will have the entire console on the right to do all the further changes.
All right.
So here you need to choose that add a task manually, which is a green color. Click that. Okay. All right. So very crucial is to give a name. Otherwise, if you don't give any name, it will automatically take a name with the entire path of your system. Okay. The task name has to be any relevant name. So reload and DRS extract. Okay. So the task name is reload DRS extract. Now go to general. Then reload. So perform reload, it should be enabled. And if you have section access, then you need to give the admin credential over here so that the application would not be restricted to reload. Suppose you are going to reload the QVW file, but you have a section access. On opening the QVW file, it will ask you for user ID and password, right? And if you have given section access without giving the user ID and password, you cannot enter to the document. So you have to give at least the admin user ID and password so that you would enter to the document, and then thereafter you can be able to reload the applications. So if you have such scenario, so far we don't have any scenario now in your DRS application, so you have not used section access. If you are at all using section access, in order to open the document automatically, you have to check the section access and give the user ID and password, admin user ID and password of the section access. For this time it is not applicable. Exactly. In the section access table, whoever the user has a access label is admin, that user ID and password is given over here. Okay.
Got it.
And partial reload is not very rarely applicable. It is not reload here in the QMC, because if you are in the during the development also, if you are added one more table in the data model, so in that case that table will be appended to the data model instead of loading the entire table. Okay,
Right.
so that's what the
Right.
partial reload. So these parameters and parameter value is not applicable in your case. Reduce, I'll tell you, I'll come back to this later. Okay, I'll tell you what is the, because you could see there are a lot of QVW file has been generated somewhere in your folder. You are just opening that. You said like it is confusing. We will open another DRS folder.
Mhm.
So they have used the reduced mechanism. That means suppose you have say company for US, and there are the company branches are there in almost all the states of US. Okay, now there are multiple users are using, and if you want to distribute the application, if you want to you know create multiple QVW file for multiple branches. Okay, you have one master QVW file, but as per your data, like say Texas, Florida, Pennsylvania, all
Mhm.
those different states are there, and for different states, there are different branches, and for different states, the data will be reduction will happen, and the separate QVWs will be created. In this case, this reduce mechanism will be used. Okay, you can locate all your data over here, all the data fields, and based on a particular field, which is region, you have to give the region, and all the five regions will be located in the QVW, and based on the certain regions, you can give five files, you can create two files, you can create three files. Okay, based on the condition you choose, those many QVW files will be separately created and distributed to the published to the QMC. Now distribute. For distribute, there are three different approach. Okay, sorry,
Mhm.
three different approach. Here we are going to manually distribute it. So distribute to QlikView server. So, and then the second one is distribute via email and distribute to folder, which is not applicable here in this case for extract. Okay, because we are not going to, because this extract and transform layer are not going to be distributed or not going to be published to the server. This would be working behind the scenes. The only
Right.
layer
Right.
which is application will be distributed to the server. So just make sure
Mhm.
if something is added, you need to remove that. Okay, and we will add the distribute to QlikView server in case of you're having an application layer. Okay,
Okay.
so now this will not be distributed. This will be only the trigger will be created over here, and if your application you want to be distributed to through email, then it will ask for certain list of users to whom your QlikView application will be automatically mailed on a certain schedule, and the entire QVW file will be mailed to them. And if you want to put the application on a particular folder on a specific schedule, then the application will be created on that schedule. Okay, the KVW file will be placed in certain FTP in a particular schedule. So this is, which is not needed for the extract layer as of now. This we can skip. Document category in QMC. Uh, all your document will be located in a root directory. Okay, if you want to create a specific category like document for HR, document for admins, accounts, document for finance, so for different group of users, for different group of users, you can just segregate the documents and by the categories. So of
Mhm.
course all the categories can be located in the QMC. So in the right side of the left side of the QMC, there is a drop down. You can choose that, and based on the different category, you can filter out the application in the QMC.
Right.
So this is not needed for the extract file again, because extract file is not going to be distributed to the QlikView server. This will all be applicable to the application only. Now trigger, which is necessary for this, we have to create the trigger. So when you create a trigger, it will ask you for to run on a schedule. Of course, it should be run on a schedule. You should not be don't use any external events or multiple events. So this will be a bit of confusing. So use specific schedule. It should be daily, and you need to give a time. Suppose it's 10:03 here. So suppose I'm going to give 10 uh, 15, 10:15, maybe 10:10. Now run every 1 day. So the application will be running daily and every 1 day. If you want to make it alternative day also, you can make it 2 days. Okay, and maximum number of executions you can specify like this. Suppose it will run 10 times, after that it will be closed. And suppose if you're running application for certain ad hoc purpose, if you want for 10 days this will be running and then this will be closed, you can choose this. This is not applicable in our scenario. And expire, suppose I'm going to expire it, so I'll just expire it tomorrow,
Okay.
because the test, we are showing it for the test purpose. This will be automatically expire tomorrow.
Okay.
So this is the schedule. Okay, dependency I'm not going to create. That will create a little bit of confusing approach. So if you have any other task, because it is the first task is going to run, so it is not going to depend on any other layer. So which is data model and application, they should be added with this dependency. If you are creating this for the data model, in that
Mm-hmm.
case the data model will be running on dependency. Okay, data
Right.
model will not running on a current trigger. Okay, in this case data model will not have a trigger. They will be having a dependency that once the completion of this extract QVW, this data model QVW will be running. So in that case, data model and application will be running on a task dependency approach. However, this will be running on a trigger.
Yep.
So no, the approach which we are using is, this is basically the number of executions is one. Either the choice is also good. Suppose tomorrow this will be closed. Okay, this will be expired. You can specify either the time, and if you want 5 times, it will be run, and then execution will not be active thereafter. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
so
Got
this is not the attempts actually. The way you
it.
say, this is not the attempt. First day it run, I don't know what is the date succeeding to today, so I can mention 10 day it will run, so I will give 10. Okay, so after 10
Okay.
days it will be filled. Okay,
Okay.
if you see one maximum number of execution means one, means after today's execution this will be expired. Okay, now the this is the option, number of executions. So it's not a number of tries. Number of tries is this one. If the task is
Okay.
fail, it will try say 3 times. Okay,
Okay.
now what is the timeout? Timeout can be defined, I suppose uh, this is in minute. Okay, minute, probably I can give so how long this task will be running. After that the task execution will be failed. Suppose one QVW size is too huge, it's in billion, and it's
Mm-hmm.
taking 4 5 hours to run. In that case system can restrict that after execution of certain hours, say 1 hour is 60 minutes. So likewise, suppose after running of 5 hours. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so 300 minutes, after 300 minutes this task will be failed. Okay,
Okay.
this task will be stopped. So you can also define like that. Accordingly you are putting a constraint on the developers that don't fetch the huge QVD. The server should not be dependent on that. So minimum, the administrator can allow that to run a QVD maximum for 1 hour or 2 hours. So if 2 hours, then it would be
Okay.
120 minutes. Okay.
Okay.
The QD size should not be such a big that it should take 5 hours or 10 hours. Okay. Now the server object. So what is means I mean by the server object is, and here's a server. Suppose you're opening the application in QMC. Can you just open the QMC?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'll show that in the open up the QMC. I will access point, and you open up the any particular document. Can I open any document and where I can have a little bit edition? Okay. Okay. Now you see this is the category. Okay, on the left side, this is the category which I was just trying to show you. We'll just come back to this document information, and there's a category, right?
Right,
So
right.
the default category, they have not created, they have created many categories here. But if you want to create such category for your users in your application, there are 4 or 5 users are going to use the application, or maybe in the access point you have a good number of users are coming off, and if you want to restrict that, few users will be seeing your application. And so to just create a filter, you can create a new category for test category.
Okay. Good.
So allow creation of server objects, all authenticated users. So you have to mention a named user. Okay, certain users in your applications, if all authenticated users, then anybody can do any changes to their QVWs. So they should not be allowed to do this. Or if you don't want to, if you don't want user to any changes on the uh, access point on the fly, so you can just simply restrict this. And if you want certain users, some business analyst can do some slicing and dicing, and in the front end they can add a sheet and they can on the fly create any report. You can also allow them by using a named user.
Okay.
Particularly give a permission to certain level of users.
Okay.
And if you have all directory, and if you have certain particular directory also, you can choose all directory and search any particular user by using double star inside this. Any of the user you can search, say then you would have a provision to edit the document on the fly in the access point.
Okay.
And when you edit and save it, that changes will be visible to you only. It will not be visible and it will not be affected to any other user.
Got it. One second.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Yes, just add it. Okay. Now you're the user who has been given permission to do any ad hoc creation.
Right.
Okay. So now apply. So this is the minimum step you needed for creating a task in the QMC.
What?
So performance is maximum number of concurrent users. Suppose you have a 30 users in your server and you want concurrently say 2 3 users or 5 users can be allowed. 30 users load cannot be taken by the server. You can put the restriction over here. Okay.
Okay.
Maximum inactive session time. Suppose the session timeout, basically the document timeout in and session timeout. So suppose you have 5 users and they have logged in, but they're not doing anything, and the after that this user should not be allowed for. So that will be maximum number of in this second. Suppose after 2 minutes there's if they're not if they are being inactive, then they would be automatically signed out.
Okay. Okay.
This is so as it is applicable for the document timeout also. Based on the number of license you procure, you can define. Suppose you're 10,
Okay.
based on the load of your server, you can allow at least 10 users at a time to log into the system. Okay, though you have 30 users, named user call you have distributed, but you can allow at least 10 users to run the open the application. And apart from 10 user, if the 11th user is logging in, the system will say the application is busy, something do not allow them. Okay.
Okay.
And maximum inactive sessions, as I said, if you have uh, certain users, they have not, and out of this 10 users, if say 3 users are not, they're inactive, their session will be disconnected. Document type means if you are opening a particular document, if you're not doing anything on that, and if you are simply connected to QMC, have not entered any into any document. Okay, this is for a application login, and this is for opening a document. Okay, so we are here to create a task. Now this will be a reload transform. So this would be our second layer, which will be depending on the QVW file of extract. Okay,
Right.
so
Right.
enable. Now going forward to reload, we will also will not use anything over here. It is enable only, but perform reload, of course, yes. If you want to disable it, you can come to reload and uncheck this. Okay, this reload would not happen. Okay, reduce is not applicable, distribute is applicable over here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, distribute to QlikView server. This is not applicable in this case as well, because these are the files which will be running behind the scenes. Distribute via email. This will also not be applicable. On this three will not be applicable. This will not be distributed. Category and triggers, yes. So in the trigger, here we have a current trigger, task dependency, and task execution options. Okay, so for transformed, we want a task dependency here. Okay, the trigger on event from another task.
Right.
Okay, so dependency will not be created. Will not create any dependency. That will be a little bit confusing. So I'll not be going to create it just to show you. I will show this because we have already created a task like this.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Can I just, if you want to this to be deleted, also we can delete and create once,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
else
We
we can
can
delete.
delete and create once. Yeah. That's fine.
So the second task for the transform, for the data model, and for the application, all three
Mhm.
layers, it would the task triggers will be created, but not on a specific schedule, because we never know what is the time will be consumed by the first extract layer for completion. Okay,
Yeah.
so that would be a kind of a queue. So unless until the first layer extract is not get completed, the second layer will not be started. So
Mm-hmm.
start on successful completion of
Hmm.
extract. What was the name of our this thing, reload?
Yeah.
Okay. So the depend this task is queued for the next level. And the same way, this will be created and this will not be distributed to server.
Mm-hmm.
None of the options will be checked here. Only the difference will be the same way other triggers will be created. Okay,
Right.
and only the application layer we will see application, right? Which one is the application?
Application is here.
This is the application.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Already tags was created, right? Some of
Yeah.
the tags was created. Okay, I'm not going to create new. I'll just show the difference. You need to give the name reload application layer, and it would be reloaded. Yes, it will be reloaded. And distribute, the only changes you need to apply over here. It will not be distributed to email or a path. It would be distributed to QMC, because this is the file which will be
Mm-hmm.
reflected in the server. Okay,
Okay.
root
Okay.
folder. Now what is mount, I will tell you in the succeeding classes. So if you have a, they have certain mount folders. Okay, So if your application is located on a specific mount, then you need to choose it. So IDS probably it would be there, right?
IDR, yeah.
Choose choose that from your end, because
Here it is.
mount folder is just a kind of and
Access
here
point
it would
folder.
be the access point to all users. If you want to
Mhm.
define all users, or if you want to define all authenticated users, then your application, if you want to be distributed and apply available to all the authenticated users, you can choose this. If you want to specify certain users who will see this application, you will have to use a name user and then
Okay.
define the user ID and password. Okay,
Okay.
this is up.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Okay. Got it.
this is the approach for the distribution, and the same approach you can follow in your local machine, because uh, we could have done the same approach in this system perfectly, but as we are navigated to multiple machines, so I just shown you the approach, and the only difference in the application is we have to distribute it to to access point. Apart from that, rest of other files will not be distributed. It will be
Okay.
simply reloaded. That's it. And the trigger
Okay.
you will simply define after completion of the data model layer.
Right.
Here
Right.
we will have the trigger
On external event. Okay.
after successful completion of the data model, not transform. Okay,
Right. Right. Right.
data model layer.